Hey everyone, so it's Hearth and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're talking about all of the book releases, the astrological events and the Sabbats that are happening in September 2024. Now this video is a little bit late and that's because the script for this took me so long. It is 35 pages long. 35! So brace yourself. I know my videos are usually long. This one's going to be even longer. So grab a drink, grab a snack, cuddle up with your child or your pet or just a cuddly toy. I don't mind. I'm not going to judge because we are going to be here for a while. Now, as always, I'm going to be splitting this up into sections. Feel free to jump around as you see fit. We're going to be starting with astrological events, moving on to the Sabbats, and then finally we're going to get to the book releases, which is my personal favourite bit and usually the biggest bit of the entire video. And believe me, this month is no different. It's big. A lot of things are coming out in September, so brace yourself. I will be splitting it into UK releases and US releases so that you can jump between them as you see fit. Okay, with that all being said, let's get started. Why not? We have to start somewhere and yeah, it may as well be here. So on the 1st of September, Uranus went retrograde. Now I've explained what a retrograde is in previous videos, but really briefly, planetary retrograde happens when a planetary body appears to be moving backwards in relation to us on Earth. It's not actually moving backwards, it just looks that way. This is different to when a planet is traveling direct or in a forward motion, as it energetically forces us to look at the things that we've been hiding and the shadowy aspects of ourselves. Probably the most famous retrograde is the Mercury retrograde because it happens the most often. While that one forces us to look at the way we communicate with other people as well as ourselves, the Uranus retrograde forces us to look at the limitations that we might be placing on ourselves. Are there things that we're telling ourselves we can't do or that we don't have the ability to do? Are there limitations that we're putting on our dreams and our goals because we don't feel like we're suitable for it? Now is the time to really start breaking down these boundaries, breaking down the things that are limiting us and allow ourselves to progress forwards in a more open and open-minded way. So Uranus retrograde is not half as scary as some of the others may appear to be. They aren't actually scary, it just changes our perspective on things. And while it is in retrograde, it's a good time to be doing workings, to be breaking down our boundaries, to be breaking down bad habits and the things that are limiting our progress, so that when we come out of the Uranus retrograde, we can progress forwards a lot faster and easier. On the 3rd of September, we had the new moon in Virgo, and this was really a time to be clearing out the aspects of our lives that were focusing too heavily on perfectionism, altering our perception on the world, what we deserve, what we can have, and how we're going to go about doing that. It's not necessarily about making giant steps towards our goals, just little small steps are still progress. And this is what we really need to be working on at this time anyway. Now that we have Uranus in retrograde as well as the new moon in Virgo, it's a time to be clearing out the way we perceive what we deserve. And whether or not you do something perfectly or whether or not you fumble your way through it, it doesn't really matter because in the end, you're still making progress. And that's really what we need to be focusing on. And then this all ties in with the full moon on the 18th of September. This is a full moon in Pisces and it surrounds our dreams and bringing them into reality. So over the course of September, we are breaking down our limitations. We're breaking down the blockages that we are placing on our own progress. We are clearing away the perfectionism, allowing ourselves to make small steps. And then this full moon in Pisces is really about us starting to achieve those goals. So during the waxing phase, it could be a really good time to be implementing those small steps and small changes so that as we come to the full moon, we're starting to see those changes manifest. You often find when you look at the moons going through each individual month, you do start to see patterns, especially when it comes to the full moon and the new moon. In months where the full moon is before the new moon, things can feel a little bit energetically strange. But now we've had a reset, so the new moon is coming first. It's allowing us to clear away unwanted things to progress to something better. This full moon is also the corn moon, and it's one of the harvest moons. So it surrounds the idea of bringing things to fruition, of coming to a harvest. And so that also ties in with the goals that we might want to be manifesting this month. We might want to be manifesting our goals coming to completion so we can finally reap what we sow during this time of year. While so far this might sound all positive, there are going to be a few bumps in the road. Now this one is a little bit of a mouthful, so I'm going to read exactly what I've written, otherwise I will forget what I'm saying. But from the 19th of August through to the 4th of December, Jupiter in Gemini is squared with Saturn in Pisces. And this energy means that you might find yourself a little bit uncertain as to which steps to take. You know that you want to make progress, but you aren't entirely sure how to go about doing that. And this is why I think it's important to be focusing on little steps. It might be really difficult to see how to get from point A to point B. And so instead, we're going to be taking little steps, creeping forwards as best as we can so that we can get a better idea of how to move forwards. It isn't that progress is going to stall, it's just that progress might not be so easy to see. It's all about focusing on those little changes, and don't beat yourself up if throughout September you are not making the big jumps that you want to. And then on the 22nd of September, we are leaving Virgo season and we are entering into Libra season. So if you do find the restrictive, slightly perfectionist energy of Virgo not particularly helpful, especially if that's something that you want to be working on in your own life, then entering into Libra season could be a really refreshing change. Now, can we do one of these videos without talking about some retrogrades? We've already spoken about Uranus earlier on, but there are plenty of planets that are in retrograde for the entirety of September. These include Saturn, which might force us to look at the needs of others over the needs of our own, perhaps look at whether or not we are being selfish in certain aspects of our lives, and try to improve that moving forwards. We also have Neptune, and for many this is going to be about uncovering and releasing the dreams that we have been pushing down, the things that we've never believed that we are able to have. Now is the time to start looking into that, along with all of the things we've already spoken about earlier on in the month. It all kind of ties together. And then we also have Pluto. Now, Pluto is a planet of transformation, so expect to see some changes in your life. These transformations, though, might not be in the way that you expect them to be, but in the long run, they are going to be for your betterment. So just bear that in mind. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but that discomfort is going to lead to growth. So that's all of the big things that are going to be happening in September that I could find. But as with everything, astrology has so many little nuances that you might want to deep dive into. You can literally go down a rabbit hole when it comes to astrology. This really is just surface level aspects of it. You can take this way further if you feel particularly drawn to. Now, alongside astrology, we do also have a Sabbat in September. This is Mabon, or the autumn equinox. This is the second of the harvest festivals. It is all about abundance and fulfillment, bringing things to completion, appreciating all of the things that we have in our lives, and looking forward to a shift in the seasons. Now, I am hoping to do a full video on the things that I am doing to celebrate Mabon, so that's going to go way more in depth into this. But now is a good time to start your Mabon preparations, because so often do the Sabbats sneak up on me. I forget about them until a week beforehand. So this is your warning. Mabon is happening on the 22nd of September. So be prepared for it. This may be one of those celebrations where you want it to be on the specific date because it is an equinox rather than an entire season, or you might want to celebrate over a season of a couple of days to a couple of weeks, depending on what your practice calls for. So now that we've done the astrological events and we have done the Sabbats, we can finally get onto the book releases. This is my personal favorite section of the video. Now, there are a lot of books coming out in September, and I mean a lot. And I've primarily focused on the UK and USA releases. I've put them in two separate categories. These are where the majority of my viewers do watch from. But if you don't live in the UK or the USA and you want to know when the books are releasing in your area, you can find a book that you find interesting in this list, type it into a search engine, the name of the book, and then release date in, and then put your country, and it should tell you when that book is releasing in your local area. So I hope that is helpful, and there will be timestamps in the description box if you do want to bounce around and see what else is available. And the last thing before we dive into the books is that you do not need large amounts of books to be successful in your magical practice. I really enjoy reading. It's something that I love within my own practice, but it isn't a requirement. And these are definitely not all of the books that are being published in September. These are just the ones that I thought were particularly interesting and the ones that I found. There's definitely going to be more out there, so if you're interested in checking out some more, then feel free to do your own research and let us know the kind of books that you find if I don't mention them in this list. Okay, with that being said, let's do this. Brace yourself. This is gonna take a while. So because I'm in the UK, I am going to start with UK releases first. And the initial thing that I'm very excited about, on September 1st, an audiobook was released. This was for The Crooked Path, an introduction to traditional witchcraft by Kelden. If you've been on my channel for a while, you will know that The Crooked Path is one of my favourite books ever. It's one of my favourite books ever. It is so well written, it is so useful, it is so informative. I recommend it to basically everyone who wants to learn about traditional witchcraft. I think it's really, really well written. And so I'm so happy that this book is now available in an audiobook, so that if you don't like reading physical copies or you really struggle with it, you have an alternative. Now, the information about this book goes as follows, though of course many of you will have already read it. Part the thorny bramble and take a walk along the bewitchingly mysterious Crooked Path. Within this audiobook, discover a wealth of hands-on tips and techniques to begin your journey into the realm of traditional witchcraft. Learn to weave a powerful personal practice that is informed by folklore and grounded in your own location and natural landscape. Along the way, you will find valuable information regarding the tools, rituals, and spells of this fascinating tradition, together with lessons on connecting with deities, familiar spirits, ancestors, and the spirits of place. With supportive advice and encouragement, Kelden provides everything you need to successfully navigate your own path, helping you master even advanced practices such as hedge crossing as you transform your day-to-day experience into a life filled with magic and spirit. Yes, I'm so happy that this is now going to be an audiobook. I might actually get it as an audiobook because sometimes when I'm walking, I like to listen to educational content, not just fiction books. And so this one could end up on my list just because it's one of those comfort reads. I never thought that a non-fiction book would become a comfort read, but there's just something about it that is just so cozy and relaxing. I don't know if anyone is going to understand what I mean by that. Some witchcraft books are very listen, learn, focus, very, very heavy and intense, whereas The Crooked Path to me was very much of a gentle guide, and I really like that in a book. On the 3rd of September, we have a re-release, and I do think it's important for me to emphasize that you might already have this book in your collection under a different name. This is Astrology, your plain and simple guide to the zodiac, planets, and chart interpretation. So some of you will remember the series Orion Plain and Simple, and they are republishing all of their books with different covers and slightly different names. So if you have any of the Orion Plain and Simple books, you may well have a copy of this one, as well as many others that are coming out in the next couple of months. But the information on this one goes as follows. Everyone reads their horoscope in the newspaper and online. However, few really understand very much about astrology. To the uninitiated, astrology can seem rather daunting. All those measurements, degrees, and logarithms. What's simple about it? This wonderful introduction demystifies a topic that everyone knows a little about and provides a basic framework for understanding it. The Jackson's easy and straightforward approach explains how you can learn more about yourself and those around you through the zodiac. Learn the characteristics of each sun sign, create a birth chart, discover your rising and moon signs, and learn to determine what the stars say about our characteristics, personalities, and compatibilities. Stoic topics in astrology, including trines, aspects, and conjunctions, are also explored. Plain and Simple Guide includes illustrations and charts covering all the signs of the zodiac. This book was previously published as Astrology Plain and Simple. So yeah, this one looks really good. I'm pretty certain I actually already have it in my collection. I have a lot of the Plain and Simple books from their original publishing. It looks like a really good book. Pretty certain I've already read it and did enjoy it, but you might already have it. This also applies to the next book as well. Also on the 3rd of September, Fairy Lore, your plain and simple guide to the mystery of nature, spirit, and their magical realm. This was once again another plain and simple book that is being republished. Now, I definitely have this one in my collection. I will probably reread it again to give you like a proper review of it in a separate video, but the information on this one goes as follows. Your plain and simple guide to the history and mystery of nature spirits and their magical realm. Fairies abound in the realms of myth and folklore. They have enchanted humans for centuries, but are they mischievous, ethereal creatures, more than just myth? One could ask for no better guide to the fairy realm than Ralph Harvey, one of England's foremost modern-day witches. In fairy lore, he intersperses his own intriguing fairy encounters, among them a mysterious musical interlude in an Irish valley, with succinct yet interesting introductions to the folk tales of the Fae. Within fairy lore, you will learn how the fairies influenced everyone from Henry III to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the best ways to seek out the fairies and how to express gratitude for fairy favours, how to create charms to protect against fairies and other supernatural beings, which gemstones and crystals draw specific types of fairies and elemental beings, and why roses have special meaning to fairies, and why elf bolts are significant as well. This book was previously published as Fairies Plain and Simple. So yeah, just be warned of that one. You might think it is a new book on the subject, it is a republish, but you might find if you've never read it before that you might enjoy it. Now, besides the Plain and Simple books, there are quite a few coming out on the 3rd of September. So we also have Charms, Amulets, Talismans and Spells by Marion Green. What is the difference between an amulet and a charm? When would be the right time to make a talisman? And if you absolutely had to, how would you cast a spell? In this unique little book, scholar Marion Green unravels the complex web of associations and correspondences which form the backbone of the Western magical arts. Packed with rare illustrations and useful tables, there is no better volume for the modern travelling magician. So yeah, that information, short, sweet. I think this one actually looks pretty interesting. We then also have the Book of Forgotten Witches, dark and twisted folklore and stories from around the world. For many centuries, the figure of the witch has haunted our imagination and our nightmares. There have been many attempts to quash our fascination with these wielders of forbidden powers, but all have failed. We invite you now on a journey through a moonlit world where every shadow tells a tale of magic, persecution, and persistence. In this beautifully illustrated volume, discover witches, real and legendary, who once terrorized, devoured, helped, or empowered their communities, but who are now largely forgotten. 10 chapters introduce 10 different categories of witches, from curse-bringers, shapeshifters, and survivors to revenants, nature witches, and fate-turners. Most, but far from all, are women, and their stories come from across the world. Each chapter is linked to a different card of the major arcana and to a stage in the alchemical process of turning base metal to gold. In this way, as you learn about witches, you will complete a journey of self-discovery and transformation, gleaning wisdom and empowerment from the awe-inspiring magical practitioners of folk tradition and history. So yeah, that one's a little bit different. It's not like any of the books that we've covered so far, but it does look really intriguing. It's one of those books where if I was gifted it, I think I'd be really, really excited to read it. So maybe that's the kind of thing, if you have a witch in your life and you're curious as to what to get them, that kind of a book could be something that's really intriguing. On the 4th of September, we have The Little Book of Tarot, Unlock the Ancient Mysteries of the Cards. For hundreds of years, tarot cards have been used for predicting the future and a way to cast light on life's big questions and inevitable changes. Tarot reading is a fascinating and enjoyable way to explore your life's journey. Whoever you are and whatever you're dealing with, all you need is curiosity and a willingness to tell the truth. What if I told you that our lives are made up of a set of numbers, of stories or patterns? At its simplest, the tarot depicts 78 of these stories. Each story card holds a secret lesson or teaching, and deciphering each card's secret is what reading the tarot is all about. With beautiful illustrations on how to use your cards and what they mean, this pocket-sized book is the perfect gift for tarot enthusiasts and truth seekers. Chapters include how to use your cards, the major arcana, the minor arcana, card spreads and stories, and tarot in everyday life. So this one isn't going to be for everyone. If you're already a seasoned tarot user, this is not the kind of book you're probably going to need in your practice, but anyone who is just getting started might find this to be particularly useful. I will say though that once you find a tarot book that you really like, you're probably going to stick to it. I was given one particular tarot book as a gift and I've never bothered to read any other. So once you can find a good book on the subject, or if you've already found a good book on the subject, you might not need to get any others. You might just be better off sticking with the one that you've got that you find really reliable. So this is one that I was kind of dreading talking about because I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. I just know it. So I'm really sorry if I do. On the 7th of September, we have the Haig Witch Handbook. Haig is the Danish concept of feeling cozy and comfortable, creating a sense of well-being and contentment, slowing down life to enjoy these moments. The pursuit of Haig works to blend spiritual health and wellness with the comforts of the heart and hearth, often practiced in house magic. That's what I do. That's what I do. And so the Haig Witch is born. From cleansing and purifying the house itself and its energies, to decorating according to the vibration and conducting spells that help promote the warm visions of Haig, The Haig Witch Handbook will not only teach you how to raise the vibrations of your home and incorporate it into your craft, but it will also explain the elements of Haig and how being a Haig witch differs from other forms of house and hearth magic. The Haig Witch Handbook is the perfect compendium for learning how to harness your magic to live well in this modern age. I'm actually really excited about this one. This one looks so good. It's right up my alley, obviously, because it's talking about home and hearth witchcraft in a slightly different way. And I always love seeing other people's interpretations and practices that fall within this specific style. Like, I always think that's so interesting. So yeah, this one's definitely one that I'm going to look into getting. On the 8th of September, we have 111 magic spells, rituals, and meditations to reclaim your power. Shape the direction of your life and step confidently on your spiritual path with 111 spells, rituals, and meditations. This beginner-friendly guide teaches you how to break harmful patterns, build a strong and meaningful magical practice, and become the most magnificent version of yourself. Meditation connects you to the gods, spells connect you to the world and bring about change, rituals remind you to have gratitude. Providing all three, Arwen Dawn helps you own your power and achieve self-growth through deep self-exploration. Learn how to create a safe space, work spells with the elements, meditate on spiritual archetypes, and empower yourself through the moon, sun, and planets. Featuring ways to connect with deities, elevate your senses, and heal trauma, this book helps you grow spiritually and live more magically. So that is a lot of big claims, and I'm not sure whether it's going to live up to all of them, but I will always come at my book reading from an open mind. Let me know if you've already read this book, what you thought about it. Did it live up to it? Because that's a whole lot to fit into a book, and if it does, that would be really, really exciting. On the 8th of September, we have Pisces Witch, Unlock the Magic of Your Sun Sign. Now, this is one that we did speak about in last month's video. It released in America. On the 8th, it is releasing in the UK. Now, America typically gets its book releases a little bit sooner than the UK does, so you might find that books that were in last month's video are now being released here. So this one says, channel your compassion and intuition into every act, both magical and mundane, with this book on embracing the power of your Pisces sun sign. Ivo Dominguez Jr. and Matt Oren share numerous spells, exercises, and stories all related to using your sun's energy to improve your witchcraft and better understand yourself. This book reveals all the magical practices and activities that come naturally to a Pisces witch, from divination techniques to self-care routines. Explore your moon and rising sign traits, perform a ritual to meet the spirit of your sign, use a variety of correspondences, and overcome challenges that your sign often faces. Featuring spells from Pisces contributors, cleansing and shielding methods, advice on magical timing, this book in the Witch's Sun Sign series helps you raise your psychic skills and be more magical in your craft. So yeah, this one is not going to be for everyone. If you don't have Pisces in your chart, it's probably not going to be useful. And a few people that I've spoken to about it who've read other books on the subject have found that they might be a little bit hit or miss depending on which aspects of your sign you most strongly resonate with. I'm blue. Why am I blue? Okay, I fixed it. I'm not blue anymore. Okay, so I did notice that the light behind me was flickering, so I've gone into my settings and I've tweaked a few things. I'm sorry if that was really, really annoying. I'm trying a few different ways of filming and I'm not used to that light, the light that's here, reacting so badly. It's something to do with the frame rate of the camera, so I'm really hoping that I've fixed it. So, oops, let's hope that wasn't super annoying. I'm sorry if it was, but fingers crossed it won't happen going forwards. Okay, where was I? On the 8th of September, we have Magic at the Crossroads, The Devil in Modern Witchcraft. Now, this is one that we spoke about last month. I believe that it was a US release. It's now releasing in the UK. When you separate the religious dogma from the symbolic nature of Christianity's ultimate rebel, who really is the devil? Kate Fruehler presents this infamous figure as a symbol, not a deity, and reveals how you can use this radical philosophy to strengthen yourself and your witchcraft. The devil represents rebelling against all-powerful, oppressive systems of any kind. Through historical references, religious writings, and even pop culture, this book explores the intersection between witchcraft and the rebel archetype. Kate dispels common myths, providing examples from a variety of texts and personal stories about her own connection to this misunderstood symbol. She also shares rituals you can use for self-empowerment. From the devil's relationship with the old gods to the foods associated with him, this book invites you to see this controversial symbol with new eyes. So as I said last month, that one looks really interesting to me just because it's the kind of topic that isn't that often touched on. And so I'll be really interested to give that one a read. Now, next up is another one that is now releasing in the UK. This is Tarot Grimoire, Spreads and Spells for Magical Life. This is coming out on the 8th of September. Tarot expert, oh no, Ethany? Oh goodness, I'm so bad with names. I've never seen this name before. Is it Ethany like Bethany, or is it Ethany like Ethan? Ethany. I don't know which one sounds right. I've now said them so many times that neither one of them sounds right. I'm gonna go with Ethany. I'm sorry if it's wrong. Tarot expert Ethany Dawn channels her profound divinatory and magical knowledge into this unique book of spreads and spells that is certain to raise your tarot experience to the next level. Ethany empowers readers to take their destiny into their own hands, one card at a time. Tarot Grimoire introduces you to the cards, symbols, and meanings, as well as a complete course in spellcasting with step-by-step instructions. For each of the 78 cards, Ethany has designed an original spread and a customizable spell that will empower readers to manifest the energies embodied by the arcana. Featuring tables of correspondences, spreads, and spells, this book offers deep insights for your magical journey. So yeah, this one looks really, really good to me. It's that idea of crossing over tarot into spell work. I like the idea of it as much as I did last time, but now it's actually available. On September 10th, we have Craft Your Own Magic, Reawaken Your Intuition, Understanding Magical Correspondences, and Create a Meaningful Personal Practice. A call to create your own magical practice by understanding magical correspondences, incorporating your own lived experiences and ancestry, and applying intuitive insights. Crafting your own magic is a personal and fluid journey, and you won't find scripted spells and rituals within these pages. Instead, you'll find a collection of pathways to a magical practice rooted in your lived experience and the relationship you form in seen and unseen realms. Here, witch, intuitive healer, and death worker Cassie Ool will share techniques to hone your inherent intuitive abilities, personal experiences, and practices, all of which she encourages you to modify to suit your needs. Your magical practice and the path it shapes will be as unique as you are, as it should be. Ool walks you through crafting your own magic using the elements as guideposts: air on developing intuition, fire on magic in relationship, water on correspondences, earth on ethics and ancestry, and spirit on bringing it all together. What crafting your own magic looks like for you will be personal and fluid. Where would you turn to seek inspiration, community, means and modes to craft your magic? Perhaps you would shift inward to the trees, flowers, birds, or invisible in-between spaces. There will likely be parts of your magical practice that no one but you will be able to define as true. For these reasons, parts of crafting your own magic may feel uncomfortable. From these places of discomfort, not knowing and becoming, your magical practice can flourish. Yes! This one looks so good. Looks, sounds, all of it. This one looks really, really good. It's exactly how I would describe what forming a magical practice feels like and what it has to be. Like, it's all well and good having hundreds and hundreds of spell books, but ultimately your magical practice is going to be drawn from so many different sources. You can be inspired from spell books, you can take inspiration from other authors, but fundamentally you need to be able to shape your own practice. Witchcraft is a results-based practice. If you're doing someone else's magical practice and you're not getting results, then that's not particularly useful. Follow the results, follow your intuition, follow your gut instincts, and ultimately you're going to end up in a much better, more well-rounded magical practice. And I like the fact that this book kind of includes all of those things I already really love and stuffs it all together. So this one is definitely going to be on my to-be-read pile. Also on the 10th of September, we have Wiccan Crystals, Harness the Power of Magical Stones for Spells, Rituals, and More. Discover the witchy world of crystal enchantments, filled with nature's powerful healing tools of gems and supernatural stones to enhance your life in ways small and large. Join best-selling author Ceridwen Greenleaf in this essential compendium for witches' empowerment on an inspiring crystal conjuring journey to learn about these myriad stones and their energies and uses in rituals and spell work. From finding clarity and boosting confidence to aiding meditation and divination, discover the stones which are special for you. Tap into mineral medicine to create sacred space with awesome altar stones such as turquoise for grounding and carnelian for motivation. facilitate positive change and calm with crystal feng shui, or use DIY witchcraft to make charm bags for prosperity and abundance. Beautifully illustrated and including crystal basics and benefits, Wiccan Crystals shows you the magical stepping stones to access your witchy wisdom and well-being as you walk the pagan path. So this one sounds interesting. Now, I have not read this book. I am not able to make a full judgment on it, but I would say I'm a little confused by the fact that it is witchcraft and Wicca and feng shui all in one. Do with that information what you will. I am not sure how I feel about it, but I'm happy to give it a read and see what I think and see kind of how it all comes together, because as I mentioned earlier, you can't always judge a book based off both its cover and also the information about it, because sometimes it just doesn't line up. Sometimes it's way better than the information. Sometimes it's way worse than the information, and you kind of can't know until you actually get there. So this is one that I am curious about. I don't use a massive amount of crystals in my practice, at least not anymore, but I'm curious as to how all of these aspects blend together in a way that is respectful and also makes sense. So yeah, let me know if you read this book, what you think of it. I would really genuinely love to know, and that applies to all of the books in this list. I'm not going to be able to get and read all of them, so if anyone else has read any of them, let us know in the comments section and it will help us all make better and more informed choices. On the 12th of September, we have The Witch Within, Discover the Type of Witch You Are. Discover what type of witch you are with The Witch Within. Do you have an affinity for working with plants and herbs? You may be a green witch. Do you love to find and harness the power of ancient stones and crystals? You may be a crystal witch. Are you able to tap into the sensory and healing properties of food for spell work? You may be a kitchen witch. This book is for those who are seeking the path of the witch. It introduces you to 25 different types of witches and helps you find your way through the different types of witches so you can identify the witch you are. Divided into groups of witches, colours, nature, world, tradition and beauty, each section of witches starts with a set of multiple choice questions to help you decide which witch resonates with you. Then each witch entry breaks down the witch's key characteristics, including what their greatest strengths are. The entities also include magical practices or spells to further harness the power of your inner witch. With this book, learn to embrace the witch within. Okay, so this one is kind of interesting sounding. I think for some people it could be really useful, especially if they want to know how to define their practice. I do think it's important to say here though that labels are not the be all and end all of witchcraft. I'm a hearth witch because the majority of my practice fits into the umbrella of hearth witchcraft. I am not adjusting my practice or squishing myself into a box to fit a label. Instead, I'm using a label that is most appropriate for my style of practice. And I get a feeling that that's where this book is coming from. It's more about figuring out which label best defines the practice that you already have. But I do know that a few people can go too far with it and they can make that label their kind of central component to their practice, and they force themselves rather uncomfortably to fit into this practice that is able to grow and shift and develop. And I think that if you're going to read a book like this, or if you're going to use labels to define your practice in general, we need to remember that the label has to describe you. You don't have to fit into that label. Labels are very useful for communicating your practice to the magical community. If someone were to approach me and they were to say I'm a green witch, I have a pretty decent understanding of the majority of their magical practice. I'm not going to know the ins and outs of it, but I know the field of practice that they cover. Much like if someone said to me that they were also a hearth witch, I'd have an understanding of the kind of practice that they carry out, but maybe not the specifics. And that's the main thing to focus on here. Labels are used to define a practice that already exists. We don't have to start with a label. We can adapt and change as time goes on, and our labels are probably going to shift and adapt with us. So yeah, this one looks really interesting. I'm actually really tempted to check this one out because it's a very different format of book than I've ever seen before. And so I'm really curious to see what it's going to be like. On the 12th of September, we also have Song of the Dark Man, Father of Witches, Lord of the Crossroads, a study into the enigmatic devil of folklore, witchcraft, and his many forms. This is one that I'm really going to look into because it looks pretty good, although there's not massive amounts of information on it. A little bit of a jump now to the 17th of September. Now, this is a name that I know that I'm going to butcher, so I'm going to put it on the screen so that I don't embarrass myself any more than I already have. So this is described as: A Witch's Garden is a rich presentation of the occult properties and witchcraft folklore of over 60 herbs and trees. Written by a magical practitioner and ethnologist, the book discusses the magical uses of herbs in healing, witchcraft, and shamanic trance, as well as the relation between spirits of the land and the plant powers accessed by the witch. Although the specific emphasis is on the occult traditions of the Balkans, most of the plants are found widely distributed across Europe and contains information which has never been published elsewhere. Lavishly illustrated with over 50 original botanical woodcuts that were specifically commissioned for the project, this is an engrossing book of plant lore that is both beautiful and informative. You know what this reminds me a lot of? That book right there. Where is it? That one. The Green Mysteries by Daniel Schulke. It sounds a lot like that, but from a different perspective, so from a different regional location. This one looks interesting to me, like really interesting, though I have a few books like The Green Mysteries that I still need to get through and they're quite heavy going, so maybe this won't end up on my to-be-read pile right away, but maybe in the future. On the 17th, we also have a book that maybe not all of you are going to be interested in, but this one really caught my eye. This is Stone of Secrets, the true story of the Philosopher's Stone. Now, I'm really fascinated by alchemy, medieval manuscripts, all of this kind of stuff. And so the Philosopher's Stone is one of those topics that's always been really curious to me. So this one reads as follows. Uncover the enigma of the Philosopher's Stone, the fabled key to ultimate metamorphosis and enlightenment that has intrigued mankind for ages. This engaging and user-friendly guide offers a unique perspective on the clandestine realm of alchemy, a realm where science intertwines with spirituality, and the pursuit of knowledge merges with the journey of personal evolution. Imagine understanding the secrets that eluded even the greatest minds in history. Picture yourself walking in the footsteps of renowned alchemists like Nicholas Flamel, Basil Valentine, and Paracelsus. They dedicated their lives to uncovering the profound truths hidden within ancient symbols and secretive processes. This book brings their stories to life and demystifies the intricate stages of alchemical transmutation, revealing how these time-honoured practices hold the key to personal transformation in today's world. Whether you are an experienced seeker of a Stoic wisdom or simply intrigued by the deeper meanings behind alchemical symbols, this book will engage your mind and ignite your soul. It bridges the gap between ancient traditions and modern comprehension, offering a fresh perspective on how the principles of alchemy can still influence and transform your life today. Are you ready to embark on a journey that promises to change how you see the world and yourself? Don't miss the opportunity to own a guide that will illuminate your path to enlightenment and offer insight that could catalyze your transformation. Let the secrets of the alchemists inspire you to unlock the potential within. Get your copy today and begin your journey towards the ultimate transformation. Now, the book itself sounds really good. I'll be honest, the information sounds a little bit salesy. You know, get your copy today and this will transform your entire life. A little bit wheeler dealer, salesman kind of vibe. Not sure I'm a fan of that. But the book itself sounds really interesting to me because this is right up my alley. It might not be for people who are more focused on the witchcraft side of things, but this one's really interesting to me. There are a few days this month that have a lot of releases, and the 17th of September is one of them. So we're kicking it off with Disabled Witchcraft, 95 Rituals for Limited Spoon Practitioners. The practices in many witchcraft books can be difficult for many of us to perform due to chronic illness, sensory issues, allergies, or other disabilities, and the financial limitations that often go hand in hand with them. In this guide, disabled witch Candy Zeller sets out to change that through nearly 100 inclusive and sometimes spicy magical rituals designed for witches with disabilities of all kind, physical and mental, visible and invisible. Disabled Witchcraft lays out a truly accessible magical practice with a solid dose of humour and heart. If your spoons, aka available energy and executive function, are limited on any given day, that doesn't need to be a hindrance to following your spiritual path. From guidance on using crystals for nervous system regulation, to tarot readings for spoonies, to laying a curse upon unjust health systems, you'll find practical tools to harness the magic of your disabilities, fight both ableism and capitalism, and embrace a more expansive version of your path. Yes! Doesn't that sound so good? This sounds like something that we really need in the community. So this is one that I'm probably going to end up getting, one so that I can recommend it to anyone that maybe could benefit from it in the future, but also to be able to support an author who is putting such good things out into the community. We also have Witchicon, Witchcraft in Art and Artifact. This is another by Daniel Schulke. We spoke earlier about his work. That big green book right there is one of his. They are, however, usually very hard to get hold of. So do bear that in mind. They are not the most easily accessed books on the market, but this one is described as being: the figure of the witch has haunted the margins of religion and spirituality for thousands of years. As a figure of transgressive spiritual power, outlaw magic, and alluring sexuality, equally pervasive in her presence in art, from ancient depictions in the Near East through the European Middle Ages, down to her present representations in occult subculture, Witchicon gathers a selection of images of witches and their diabolical magic, emphasizing the range of artistic depictions that have helped coalesce this most powerful of modern supernatural icons. Numerous full-colour images are accompanied by several scholarly essays concerning the iconography of witchcraft and the images used to represent witches through time. Also included are numerous photographs from museum and private collections documenting occult artifacts used in witchcraft throughout diverse eras. And that's the bit that made me put it in this list. That little bit at the end that says, photographs from museum and private collections documenting occult artifacts used in witchcraft throughout diverse eras. That's why I love the Museum of Witchcraft and Magic in Boscastle. That's why I'm fascinated by people's personal collections. That is the section that really, really intrigues me the most. And then the last one on the 17th of September is the Practical Witches Almanac 2025. Delve into iconic witchcraft traditions like the utterance of Blessed Be and the influential Wiccan Rede, exploring their origins and relevance today. This introspective journey isn't just about history, it's an empowering quest. It challenges you to assess these traditions' place in your craft. Embrace, adapt, or boldly defy these customs. This edition empowers you to shape your craft's evolution on your terms as you travel your unique spiritual path. It includes weekly schedules, monthly lunar planners, moon signs and phases, Sabbats, times and days, eclipses and meteor showers, spells and recipes, correspondences and references, and much, much more. That one sounds really interesting to me. We then have 3 books coming out on the 24th of September. It seems like the latter half of this month is going to be very, very busy for books. The first is the Earth Mysteries Workbook, a 1-year course on the enchantment of the land. A practical and investigative workbook to explore the timeless enigmas of the land on which we walk. The Earth Mysteries Workbook invites readers to embark on a journey to understand and restore the ancient enchantments of the land, as well as continuing to train the minds and spirits of those engaged in magical study. The book follows 48 lessons which span the course of 1 year. It is not intended to be read cover to cover. Instead, readers should take a lesson a week, each of which provides material for thought, study, and meditation. Each week is divided into 7 numbered paragraphs to be used as themes for the week's meditations. The lessons include an introduction to the Earth mysteries and natural philosophy, exploration of different sites across the Earth, myths and legends, phenomena, and much more. The 4th instalment of John Michael Greer's instructional workbook for members of the Golden Section Fellowship presents the scholarship of Earth Mysteries as a fundamental discipline of occult studies and a spiritual discipline. Greer situates the mysteries of the land as intrinsically linked to occult studies as they challenge the modern paradigm which ignores and belittles the sacred knowledge of ancient times, sharing a belief in the importance of the past in understanding the suitable and spiritual dimensions of the earth. This book can be read as an accompaniment to Greer's previous titles, The Way of the Golden Section, The Occult Philosophy Workbook, and The Way of the Four Elements. Now, this is one that I normally wouldn't touch on because it's very, very different, but the fact that it was very different made me super intrigued by it. It's a different way of working through learning by doing it on a course basis, but it's in a workbook that you can do yourself. I think that's really interesting. So let me know, anyone who has done previous ones like this, let me know what you thought of it. I've never seen a book like this though, so that's why I wanted to include it, because it's something completely different. The second of the books from the 24th of September is Pagan Portals, The Fallen Women of Mythology, Goddesses, Saints, and Sinners. Women have traditionally been written out of history, but throughout ancient myths, stories, and legends, there is a power in rediscovering the experiences of the many fallen women who have been hidden by the annals of the past. Portrayed to us as enigmatic goddesses, devout saints, scandalous sinners, and infamous biblical whores, their storylines of inequity were scorned, or, in many instances, disregarded altogether to gather the dust of antiquity. They are the hidden gems of the ancient world, and it is time to reawaken their voices. For within every account of a fallen woman, whether divine or human, there is another very fascinating side to their story. Now, many of you will know my opinion on pagan portals. I have many of their books. They are very small for how expensive they are. But this is actually one of the ones that I'm tempted to get myself. It's a very interesting topic. It's something that I would love to learn a lot more about. And the pagan portal books tend to be a bit of a tiptoe into a much larger topic. So they're a good way of figuring out whether or not you like the idea of a topic before fully deep diving into it. But do bear in mind that they are very expensive for what they are. The last time I bought a pagan portals book, I think it was about £8, and they are like this thin. They're like 50 pages long, something like that. They're really, really small. So just bear that in mind. Always look at the author, always look at who is publishing that book. And also it's really useful to not only look at the reviews, but also look at the size of that book. Because sometimes you might get a book in the post and realize, oh, this is really tiny, and you might be really disappointed. So it's one of those things where, a little bit like buying anything off the internet, make sure that you double check what you're getting so that you're not going to end up disappointed. And then the third one on the 24th of September is another by Pagan Portal, so just bear everything I just said in mind. This is, however, one that I'm actually really tempted to get as well. I never thought I'd say that. That's 2 Pagan Portals books back to back that I'm tempted to get. You heard it here first. I might never say that ever again. This is Sulis, the solar goddess of the spring waters. Sulis is one of the very ancient English goddesses. From evidence found, we know that she was worshipped at the hot springs in Bath in the UK, one of my favourite places, going back to at least the Mesolithic period. What we know about her can only be gleaned from the archaeological finds at the Roman baths in Bath and a few mentions in ancient Roman documents. What we do know is that she must have been extremely powerful, and her presence continues to carry that energy forward. The historical information in this book is drawn from archaeological finds and academic viewpoints from experts in their field. Little or nothing is known or has been found about the goddess herself or how she was honoured. Drawing upon personal experience, this book gives you an introduction to connect with Sulis yourself and to discover and create your own relationship with her. Let me introduce you to the solar goddess of the hot springs. I literally have chills from reading that. I don't know what it is about that, it just made all of the goosebumps come to the surface. So that's another one that I'm really interested in looking into. Pagan Portals does a few books on different goddesses, gods and deities in general. I've got one on Bridget. I also have another one on the gods and goddesses of Wales. But there's far more out there if smaller books on gods and goddesses are things that you are looking at. And I would recommend going through someone like Pagan Portals rather than some of the books that are available online that are written by AI. So just bear that in mind. Now, if you thought the 24th of September had quite a lot of releases, the 25th of September has even more. The first one is actually a republish. This is Spinning Spells, Weaving Wonders, Modern Magic for Everyday Life. Now, this book was originally published, I believe, in the late 90s, early 2000s, but a lot of Patricia Telesco's books are being republished. So it's worth checking your library and your collection first to make sure that you don't already have these from an earlier print. Get ready to make some magic, because Patricia Telesco has crafted a divine collection of spells, rituals, and more in her enchanting classic, Spinning Spells and Weaving Wonders. Have you ever spent all your time casting a spell only to have it not work out? Or are you a witch constantly having to dig through your books just to find a single spell? Or maybe you're a beginner without a clue where to start. Well, worry no more, because Patricia Telesco has taken her expertise and created a definitive guide for spellcasting in Spinning Spells and Weaving Wonders. Within its pages, you will find all you need to get your magic moving, from learning the basics of magic to casting more complicated workings. With easy to follow instructions and a variety of topics covered, whether casting for love or money, intuition or luck, Spinning Spells and Weaving Wonders will be the book you keep reaching for time and time again. So this one looks really interesting, especially now that I know that it is a reprint from an earlier book. It means that the wording makes a little bit more sense. The first time I read this last month, I was like, enduring classic? For a new book, that's kind of strange wording, but I've since researched a little bit more and now I know it is a reprint. A book like this could be really, really good alongside something like Psychic Witch by Matt Oren. I think that could be a really interesting combination, but I will have to read it first before I give any kind of advice on that, because I don't know, maybe it could be terrible, but I suspect it's probably going to be pretty good. We then have Stones in the Glade, the Old Craft in the New World. Stones in the Glade provides readers with an understanding of how older magical traditions can be woven into a more modern practice. With its engaging narrative and tips for practitioners, this book will make a great addition to any witch's library. How can an art as old as time be applied to the modern world? Stones in the Glade explores the experiences of a practitioner from the coast of New England. It contains tips, examples, and viewpoints surrounding various magical topics and encourages the reader to dive deep into magical practice. Discover the role of the dream world and oneric venturing, a time-honoured witch's art. Learn practical spellcraft for a variety of magical purposes. Explore some of the myth and lore surrounding the origins of the witch. Learn how to connect with familiar spirits and acquire knowledge of the green world. Begin to forge a relationship with the old ones, as well as other spiritual entities. Yeah, this one's a good one. This one sounds really interesting to me. We then have Transformative Initiation for Witches, the Art of Mastering Inner Change. Now this one has confused me a little bit, and I'm gonna say my piece on it just before we get started, because this one focuses on self-initiation. Now, I always have found self-initiation to be a curious topic, because in all of my teaching, as in the teaching that has been given to me by other people, I have always been taught that you cannot self-initiate. You can be initiated by someone else, but you need to self-dedicate, because to self-initiate is akin to baptizing yourself. It needs to be done by someone that is already a part of that particular tradition. Now, of course, my teaching is not infallible, and it's quite likely that my education comes from people who've already been given misinformation within their own education. And so I'm really curious to see how other people perceive the term self-initiation. But I really want to get other people's opinions on this. So let's kind of open this up to the floor for like a conversation, because like I really want to see other people's perspectives. So just bear that in mind as I read you the information on this book, because I suspect it may well be different terms for the same thing, or just different teachers sharing information in slightly different ways, which I always think is interesting. Mysteries of transformative initiation are found in the cycle of the hero and the heroine, and expressed in the 22 trumps of the tarot. For the first time, they are brought together, mastering the process of psychic transformation and wielding the powers of self-initiation are taught in this book. It is self-initiation made accessible. Initiation is one of the most mysterious and most documented of the traditional practices of witchcraft. What is not well known is that behind the scripted initiations are the symbols of transformation encapsulated in the 22 tarot trumps of the major arcana. Initiations follow the literary cycle of the hero and the heroine, and combined with the trumps produces a system of magic used to trigger and wield the powers of psychic transformation. Additionally, the book analyses the traditional scripted initiations of witchcraft, their relationship to Masonic initiations, and produces new practices like the periodic dedication rite, the third degree ordeal, self-initiation of the 4 elements, the rumoured 4th and 5th degrees, and the initiation mysteries of a witchcraft inner order. Most importantly, this book gives the reader the ability to direct and shape their own inner cycles of transformation, so that they might master the art of inner change for themselves and their students. The whole purpose of directing and shaping inner change is to assist in the overall process of achieving a sustainable mind state of conscious ascension. The rituals and practices in this book give the reader, for the first time, the ability to design, write, perform, and realise the powers of psychic transformation and initiation. So yeah, this one sounds so curious to me. It's one of those where it is a completely different person's viewpoint on a topic, and I'm so interested to learn more. I think this is why I love reading from different people's perspectives. Every single one of us has the ability to be misinformed and to have biases and bad habits within our own magical practice. And if we only ever read the same sources from the same people, we can have a tendency to get stuck in our ways. And so this one, although it sounds really, really dense, like the kind of book I might need to put down every half a chapter and go and do something else, I think it could be interesting to shine a light on aspects and topics that maybe I need to learn a little bit more about. And that's why I love reading books from so many different people, from so many different perspectives. I think it just allows us to round out our practice a little bit more. Even if we don't necessarily choose to do any of it in our own practice, it can just kind of open our eyes a little bit. And this one looks really interesting, though it does sound like the kind of book that I'd put off reading. Not because it's not interesting, but because it sounds really heavy going. We then have Icelandic Folk Magic, Witchcraft of the North. From the author that brought you Icelandic plant magic comes Icelandic folk magic, Witchcraft of the North, Albert Bjorn's second book. Learn how to apply folk magic and herbalism to any circumstance with this highly engaging book of magical northern techniques. Embrace your power like never before. Drawing on the same friendly and engaging style of his first book, Icelandic Plant Magic, Folk Herbalism of the North, Albert offers us an extensive grimoire of folk magical practices based on the Icelandic landscape, incorporating elements of myth and lore along with his own tried and true magical techniques. Icelandic folk magic will add a highly workable system of operative magic to your practice. And that's my favourite kind of book, I think, are the books on operative witchcraft. I love really heavy history-based books, but also the operative books are really good. And this one I've heard such good things about so far, and especially the first book as well. I heard so many good things that I might have to check them both out. We then have what I believe to be another reprint by Patricia Telesco. This is The Herbal Art, a handbook of plant magic, folklore, recipes, spells, and charms. Herbal artistry is at your fingertips when you flip through the fact-filled pages of Patricia Telesco's book, The Herbal Arts, a handbook of plant magic, folklore, recipes, spells, and charms. Utilizing nature's most abundant gift, The Herbal Arts explores over 100 plants, herbs, and flowers while keeping practicality, ease of use, and accessibility in mind. Within its pages, you will find lore, historical uses, and magical insights alongside practical everyday applications to create a more meaningful and fulfilling magical practice. We also have Witchcraft, a Mystery Tradition by Raven Gramassi, which I believe is also another reprint. Discover hidden lore, walk the wheel of the year, and align yourself with ancient wisdom with the help of Raven Gramassi's classic title. The down-to-earth writings of Raven Gramassi are brought back to life in this renewed edition of Witchcraft, a Mystery Tradition. Exploring various myths, legends, verses, and lore, this tome will shed some light on more of the arcane mysteries surrounding the origins of the witch's craft. Also contained within this book is a comprehensive construction of myths that unifies the witches' Sabbats as well as their associated deities, alongside unique magical workings designed to connect the reader with the currents of wisdom that connect us to the past. So those two may be ones that you need to check your collection to make sure that you don't already have them first. They do all have brand new covers as well, so do not take it at face value. Do make sure to double check, otherwise you'll do a me and end up with 2 copies of Folk Witchcraft because the cover looked slightly different. I am slightly embarrassed by the fact that I did that, but if anything, it shows me that I liked the book so much I bought it twice. So if you like the look of this one, do make sure you check just in case. We then have The Timeless Path, Unleashing the Power of Invasive Plants in Witchcraft. This one looks so interesting to me. Take your magic to the next level by tapping into the power of invasive plants and applying these recipes and workings to your magical practice. This book offers a comprehensive overview of the magical and practical uses of invasive plants while providing tips for incorporating their powers into your life. Step into the wild and explore the practical and magical uses of invasive plants. Camden Cornell shows you how to incorporate the power of these plants into your life, both practically and magically. You will find instructions for mixing infusions, blending incense recipes, creating magical fluid condensers, and creating libations, presented alongside an impressive collection of spells, charms, and rituals that you will find accessible and effective. The Materia Magica section offers an encyclopedic overview of a selection of invasive plants found growing in many parts of the world. Accompanying each plant is an ecological overview, foraging uses, medicinal applications, and magical applications. This one is definitely going on my to-be-read pile. I love using what would be referred to as weeds in witchcraft. I find them to be incredibly powerful, sometimes more powerful than the plants that we are purposefully growing for our magical arts. And so this one is definitely going to be read eventually when I get through the rest of my to-be-read pile, which is actually ginormous right now. So maybe I'll get this in a few months. We then have Ecstatic Witchcraft, Magic, Philosophy, and Trance in the Shamanic Craft. Embrace the shamanic path and tap into the powers of the other world with ecstatic witchcraft. Ecstatic witchcraft shows the witch how to journey deep into the other worlds and strengthen your connection to the gods and spirit allies. In this highly engaging book, you will be shown how to draw down and aspect the old gods, methods of entering trance, how to move between this world and the other world, improve your seership and divinatory skills, and create effective ecstatic spell work that will help you create magical change in your life and the world around you. This book offers so much more than simple spellcraft. It truly teaches you how to discover the true ecstasy of witchcraft. We are still on the 25th of September, by the way. I'm still going. We have another three more just on the 25th of September. Yeah, there's a lot. Next up, we have Sleep and Sorcery, Enchanting Bedtime Stories, Rituals and Spells. The book Sleep and Sorcery compiles many of the stories already beloved by hundreds of thousands of listeners, alongside exercises to connect with intuition, spirit, and the unconscious. Told in second person, the stories welcome readers into magical and mythic worlds. Sleep magic made easy. Step across the threshold into a world of myth and magic where you can safely drift off into a deep and comfortable sleep. Founded in 2022 by Laurel Hostak Jones, Sleep and Sorcery began as a successful podcast and YouTube channel featuring original sleep stories inspired by folklore and fantasy. Told in second person, the stories welcome readers into magical and mythic worlds. A green witch communes with spirit in their moon garden. An ordinary child is initiated into the mysteries of the goddess Ceridwen. A sleeper meets the weaver of all dreams. A weary knight ponders a strange encounter with the mysterious Green Knight. Deepen your practice by engaging with the story's theme in a unique ritual. Be as intentional about your sleep as you are about your waking experiences. Create a dreamy ritual soak. Practice automatic writing with the subconscious as your partner. Work with mythological themes in the Wheel of the Year. Exercises are accessible to witches, pagans, and muggles alike, all intended to enrich your rest. This actually sounds really good. When I first read this, I was like, nah, I don't know if it's for me. But when I actually think about it, I'm like, that sounds really fun. That sounds like a great way of making dream magic more accessible. And so I think I'm going to check this one out. We also have Becoming Baba Yaga, Trickster, Feminist, and Witch of the Woods. When darkness, fear, and instability inundate our daily lives, folktale figures like Baba Yaga speak to the dichotomy of our existence, the hope and the horror, the magic and the mundane. At once an old hag and an enchantress, a demon and wish granter, a feminist and nothing more than a fairy tale. Baba Yaga is an endlessly complex folktale character. Becoming Baba Yaga provides an in-depth look at Baba Yaga mythos. I have to say this so many times, it's starting to sound strange. That Baba Yaga, Baba Yaga. I feel like I'm about to summon Beetlejuice. Best not to say it anymore, I think. And history through Slavic folklore, filled with historical and cultural context, analysis, and stories that add depth to the conversation. A comprehensive resource for anyone hoping to learn more about this ambiguous character and how her multifaceted presence still ripples through the present day. This book is as thoughtful as it is illuminating, exploring her connection to nature as an earth goddess and a herbalist. She also delves into the shadow self and her aspect as a trickster and places her in a modern context as not merely a witch of the woods, but also as an archetype and force for finding your own path. This book shares how she is both a force for good as much as evil and a feminist before her time. So yeah, that one's really interesting. It's probably not a book I'm going to add into my own collection, but I'm sure that many people would find it really, really enjoyable. The last one for the 25th of September. Oh my goodness, I feel like 25th of September has dragged on. This is Elemental Spirits, Building a Magical Practice in an Animistic World. Now, I do believe that we spoke about this one last month and it looks so good. Discover the spirits of nature and explore rituals, spells, and methods of divination designed to strengthen your connection to the magic of the animistic world around you. Learn how to attract and commune with the spirits presiding over each of the 4 elements of nature and perform magical exercises to enhance your perception of these spirits. A wide selection of spells and charms are presented alongside tried and true techniques designed to align yourself with the potent powers of nature. We also have Owl Magic. Explore our fascinating connections with these birds through folklore and magical traditions. Now this one does look ridiculously interesting to me. It's a topic I've never really thought about before. Discover the enchanting world of owls and delve into the rich tapestry of folklore and mythology that surrounds these magnificent creatures. Unlock the secrets of owl magic as you embark on a journey to find your mystical companion and explore the profound connections between owls and the realms of ancient wisdom. Begin your quest to understand the symbolic significance of owls, delving into the captivating history, folklore and myths that have woven these majestic birds into the fabric of various cultures. Explore the diverse tales of owls and their revered status in Native American, African, Japanese, and other mythologies. This book will guide you through the many mesmerizing lessons on owls, such as unveiling the historical and mythological threads that bind owls to magical narratives, diving into the captivating characteristics of different owl species from their distinctive physical attributes to their nocturnal prowess, discovering the art of identifying, attracting, and forming profound connection with your owl familiar, exploring the deeper meaning behind owl messengers and guides and how to harmonize with their spiritual energies, and integrating the wisdom of owls into your spellwork and rituals, enhancing the magical potency of your practice. Immerse yourself in the captivating allure of owls as you nurture your mystical abilities. Strengthen your bond with these ethereal creatures and awaken your enchanting powers that will guide you on a path to becoming the witch of your dreams. Embrace the magical essence of owls and let the ancient wisdom of folklore and mythology illuminate your spiritual journey. That sounds so interesting. I have, however, just noticed that I say allure really weird. Allure. Allure. Why do I put so much emphasis in the middle of that? Allure. Allure? Allure. Allure. Is it meant to be allure? Allure. Why do I say it like that? Allure. I'm putting a Y in there somewhere. Allure. Allure. I've confused myself now. It's one of those things where you don't really acknowledge the things that you say until it's on camera. And when you know that other people are going to hear what you say, you start like second guessing everything. Allure. Allure. Oh, never mind. Oh well. How do you say it? I want to know how you guys say it. Because like, I know that everyone has like different dialects and stuff. And mine is very posh sounding. It's very English sounding. But like, I'm really curious around the world how you say that word. The last for the 26th of September, but not the last on the list, is the Museum of Witchcraft. Every sense is tingling. Strange symbols loom out of the darkness, and incantations whisper through the air. It's cold and quiet, so why don't you feel completely alone? Welcome to the Museum of Witchcraft, a collection of 100 artifacts where a history of secret wisdom, female power, and occult objects come to life. Wander through its pages to discover why cooking is magic, which trees are most enchanted, how to create an amulet, where to find a witch mark, and why bad weather could have you burned at the stake. With each page a beautiful display cabinet containing a stoic illustration and authoritative text, it's time to discover the shadowy world of witches. There's also quite a few releases on the 27th of September, so up first we have The Apprentice Witch. Young, aspiring witches will discover the mysterious and magical powers of the universe in this enchanting guidebook. Brimming with the essential tools and techniques to start you on a spellbinding journey, the delightfully illustrated chapters explain everything from the various uses of herbs and crystals, to the effects of the moon phases, to the important role that colour plays in witchcraft, as well as how to cast spells for success, love, rest, and friendship. Plus, there are even some journal pages to record spells that are uniquely your own. Now, this is one of those where it's a very cute, it's a very sweet book. I think it's designed for a much younger audience, so it could be suitable depending on your situation. We also have The Way of the Witch, a guide to starting your magical journey and activating your inner power. Find your path in witchcraft. Confidently start your journey into witchcraft with the expert guidance of Danielle Lewitt. As a practicing witch who has refined her craft over decades, Danielle is the perfect spiritual mentor to help guide you with wisdom, resources, rituals, and more. Danielle first helps you decide which type of witchcraft you'd like to practice. Then take your first steps in your journey by learning how to source tools to aid you, establish a sacred space, and practice ethically. Discover how to hone and deepen your practice in actionable, practical ways through divination, working with herbs and crystals, celebrating witches' holidays, and more. Guest chapters from other prominent voices in the witchcraft community provide unique insights into the ways you can personalize your experience, no matter where your path is heading. Danielle's sage wisdom will ensure you begin your practice with confidence and grow into the witch you want to become. Now, this one sounds like it could be promising. Everyone has a slightly different way of teaching witchcraft, and I don't think that any way is necessarily better than others. They're just different. Different people who were taught in different ways are going to teach in different ways. I do think it is important to emphasize, though, that really the type of witch that you are and the type of witchcraft that you identify your practice as being should probably come after you've already done some practicing. It's all well and good reading a book and saying, yeah, I think green witchcraft is for me, but if you've never done any kind of witchcraft before, you might find that you've put a label on a practice that you've not even experienced yet. How are you meant to know that green witchcraft is the practice for you if you've never tried it? How are you meant to know that necromancy, spirit work, elemental magic, storm magic, kitchen witchcraft, hedge riding are not for you instead? I don't think that this book is necessarily going to be bad. I actually think it could be really, really insightful. But I do get a little concerned by especially beginners putting labels on a practice that they haven't had any experience in yet. And I think we need to continue the idea that labels are designed to be descriptive. They are not designed to be restrictive. And I think there's a big distinction there. And so I would always recommend learning witchcraft as a general practice first before you start refining it into any given type. That way you can get an idea and a feel for how you like your practice to be, the kind of styles that you like to perform. But obviously that's just my way of doing it. My way is not the only way. It is not necessarily the best way. It's just the way that I do it. So I just think that's important to bear in mind, because you might find that your practice becomes a little restrictive if you're labeling first, practicing second. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'm going to come at it from an open mind. I might give this one a go just to see someone else's way of doing it. We then have another book on weeds. This is Witches and Weeds, Magical Uses for Wild Herbs. This book is filled with herbal ideas, perfect for both beginners and experienced witches looking to incorporate more herbs into their practice. Wild herbs grow in places that are often uncomfortable, urban, yet are rich in beneficial properties, can be eaten or used for balms, creams, and ointments. Like witches who cure and heal, even weeds are on the sidelines and found in unconventional places. Beautifully illustrated and functional, this book is easy to navigate and offers a guide to wild herbal magic. In this book, you can get to know both weeds and witches, a look at those on the outskirts of the city, the railway, the country road, the undergrowth, the seafront, and more. For each place, you will get to know the witch who lives there and the power of nature that surrounds her. Each chapter begins in a new location, introducing the witch who lives there and the unique set of weeds she has access to. It then goes on to present several cooking and cosmetic recipes, as well as magical uses for each. So yeah, this is another one that looks interesting. I would personally go for the one that I mentioned earlier on. If I can remember what it's called, I will put it on the screen. That one to me seems like it's calling out a little bit more, but this one could also be really interesting, and honestly, I might end up reading both of them. On the 30th of September, we have The Curious Lore of Precious Stones, a compendium of gemstone, folklore, superstitions, and mysticism. Now, as far as I'm aware, we mentioned this one at the end of last month's video where it released in the US. Today it is releasing in the UK. Discover the magical properties of gemstones with this definitive work by America's first professional gemologist, George Frederick Coons, presented in a luxurious hardback gift edition with gilded page edges. Drawing on his wide-ranging research into the occult and magical properties of gemstones, George Frederick Coons produced a treasure trove of a book that covers ideas about precious and semi-precious stones from around the world, with tables of correspondences and sections on scrying and astrological uses of stones, omens regarding certain stones, and how gemstones were seen historically around the globe. This is a fascinating work of impressive scope. Learn about the history of gemstones and how they have been used within fortune telling and for their magical properties, for their astrological associations, in rituals, symbolic uses, and as talismans. This beautiful treasury is presented with gilded page edges, patterned end papers, ivory pages, and gold embossed cover design. It makes a wonderful companion for anyone wanting to take a closer look at some of the sparkling stories within the jewels you recognise and wear. On the 30th, we also have Moon Magic lunar spells to attract an enchanted life. Tap into the transformative magic of lunar cycles with this beautiful silver embossed hardback guide with over 50 moon magic spells and meditations. Welcome to the world of Moon Magic, where the night sky shines bright with possibility and the shooting stars herald the arrival of new opportunities. This delightful book will unlock the key to understanding how the moon affects us all and how to use its pull to manifest your goals and draw positive outcomes to you. You will learn how to set up a magical moon altar, tap into the power of the lunar cycle, use moon magic to manifest your goals, practice meditations, rituals, totem animals, and dream weaving spells. I do think it's important to note here that I believe that totem animals are from Native American practice and are not necessarily seen outside of that. So I'm curious as to how that has been included in here, but I will continue anyway. This beautiful volume is presented with a silver embossed cover design, gilded page edges, patterned end papers, and ivory pages. You'll recognize that from the one just before. It's a wonderful companion to explore the enchanting practice of moon magic. Okay, the last book that is coming out in September that I have been able to find for the UK is Children of Cain, A Study of Modern Traditional Witches. Now, this is by Professor Michael Howard, a phenomenal author. I'm definitely going to get this. The mid-20th century saw a resurgence of popular occultism in Europe and North America, including an interest in witchcraft. Chief among these was Wicca, a recension of ceremonial magic and nature worship advanced by Gerald Gardner and Alex Sanders, now widely regarded as a religion. However, lesser-known traditions of the witch current thrived the shadows, having older historical roots and linked to a body of practices: witch bottles, knotted cord spells, curses, exorcisms, sexual magic, and charms ranging from the conjuration of angels to protection for livestock and hearth. These formed a body of practices loosely called traditional witchcraft, whose origin in part lies with the sorcery of the cunning folk of Britain, Europe, and colonial America. Eschewing the popular occult limelight, its perpetuation as a mystery cult continues as a largely closed group of initiates. Now revised and expanded, the second edition of Children of Cain is the definitive history of traditional witchcraft and its key operatives in Britain and the United States, and is based on over 40 years of research and private collaboration with practitioners of this mysterious form of folk magic. That is the book that I'm most excited about this entire month. It took me so many books to get here. That one is the one that I'm most excited about. Now we can move on to the US releases. Now I'm going to try to make this a little bit quicker. Any book that I've already spoken about today, I'm not going to go over the information on it again. I'm just going to tell you what it's called. Only the books that we've not mentioned so far am I going to deep dive into, because otherwise we will be here for another hour, maybe more. And I already hurt because I've been sitting in the same position for 2 hours now. I should probably stand up and walk around for a little bit. I'm actually gonna go and do that. So I walked around for a little bit. We're now back. Let's do the US releases. So on the 3rd of September, we have The Herbal Arts, a handbook of plant magic, folklore, recipes, spells, and charms by Patricia Telesco. On the 3rd, we also have The Intentional Witch, a guided journal with prompts, spells, and affirmations for a more magical you. Reconnect with yourself and your magic by living with intention. In a fast-paced world, being a modern witch can feel like an impossible task. Between deadlines and to-do lists, spells are left unwritten, herbs gather dust, and crystal charging becomes a distant memory. Enter The Intentional Witch, a guided journal for the spellcaster who wants to reconnect with their inner magic. Immerse yourself in over 150 bewitching prompts, spellbinding activities, and whimsical affirmations that will guide you on your path to self-discovery, where you will unlock your talents and feel more grounded in everyday life. Affirm your magic and strengths through motivational mantras and activities. Enchant your witchy presence by learning and recording new spells, crafting sigils, and keeping track of your crystals, candles, and herbs through organizational charts and spellbook pages. Empower yourself by setting meaningful intentions and embracing realistic self-care that can help soothe and energize you on your journey. The perfect inspirational witch gift, this enchanting journal and activity book will inspire you to embrace self-care, dispel negativity, and bewitch your everyday with positivity. Bring magic to your year and give as a meaningful gift or holiday stocking stuffer for baby witches, accomplished witches, friends, family, or anyone in need of a bit of magic. So that one actually sounds pretty interesting to me. It's not the kind of book I would necessarily buy for myself, but I can definitely see why it would be popular as a gift for someone. On the 3rd, we have Becoming Baba Yaga, Trickster, Feminist, and Witch of the Woods by Chris Spisak. I really hope I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. We also have The Comfy Cozy Witch's Guide to Making Magic in Your Everyday Life by Jenny Blonde. From the host of the beloved podcast, The Comfy Cozy Witch, comes an accessible 2-colour illustrated guide resonant with cozy fall vibes, featuring spells, recipes, meditations, and practices to bring good magic to your daily life. Whether you're a novice curious about witchcraft but aren't sure where to start, or a seasoned witch interested in deepening your practice, this warm, accessible, and nurturing interactive guide shows you the way. The Comfy Cozy Witch's Guide to Making Magic in Your Everyday Life combines the practical charm of the Little Book of Haig with the down-to-earth wisdom of the Spellbook for New Witches, with the practical guide of Gilmore Girl. Drawn from decades of popular podcaster Jenny Blonde's experience, she shares 7 tenets to help you begin and develop your own authentic practice. Acceptance, gentle exercises to reflect on your past journeys. Simplicity, meditations to ground us in the present. Balance, self-care practices like candle magic to replenish our inner selves. Delight, practices to find joy in community. Warmth, building a cozy practice space. Reflection, journal prompts to help us stay centered. Intuition, learning to listen to ourselves and connect to our guides. This beautifully designed book, filled with spellcraft exercises, magical journaling prompts, delicious recipes, and do-it-yourself tips for the home and garden, has everything necessary to develop a witch practice built on magical authenticity, comfort, and self-care. On the 7th of September, we have The Haig Witch Handbook by Courtney Hope. On the 8th of September, we have The Witch's Ally, Building a Magical Relationship with Animal Familiars and Companions by Dodie Graham McKay. Invite animal allies into your practice. From the earliest grimoires, animal familiars and companions have been a vital part of witchcraft. This book covers all aspects of working magic with animal allies and how to create profound relationships with your own pets. In addition to folklore and history, Dodie Graham McKay shares dozens of charms, recipes, rituals, and more. Featuring deep insight on how witches relate to their familiars and companions, this book helps you work with animal energy and see the world from their unique point of view. Explore supernatural entities and long-ago symbolism, partner with animals in body and spirit, and enjoy stories from Dodie about her relationship with animal allies. From making pumpkin oat dog biscuits to shape-shifting via dance, this book will enrich your experiences with the animals in your life. Now, I know some of you are expecting me to say, oh, animals can't be familiars, but this book very specifically says animal familiars and animal allies. And so I think this book could be a really refreshing perspective on this topic. And I'm actually really interested in getting this one. It's content that maybe I wouldn't personally apply into my life, but it's something that I would definitely love to learn more about. On the 8th of September, we have Chronically Magical, Navigating Chronic Illness with Witchcraft by Danielle Dion. You are more than your illness. Magical practices and stories from a witch who knows what you're going through. Your condition may always be with you, but so will your magic. This book is a beacon of hope for anyone grappling with chronic or invisible illness. Through personal stories and hands-on magic, Danielle Dion guides your journey of self-discovery. She shows you how to incorporate spellcraft, healing, self-care, and confidence-building practices into your own unique process. Chronically Magical presents techniques that help boost your energy, mood, and vision for your future. While it can't cure your illness, this book teaches you how to accept help from others, grow around grief, pace yourself according to the spoon theory, and more. You'll also learn how to work with stone, plant, and animal allies. From energy clearing to spirit communication, Danielle covers every aspect of staying magical and manifesting change for the better, which just sounds really, really good. And I think that could help a lot of people. We also have The Psychic Art of Tarot, Opening Your Inner Eye for More Insightful Readings by Matt Oren. Level up your tarot reading with your own psychic abilities. Drawing on decades of experience as a professional reader, best-selling author Matt Oren presents a comprehensive guide to unlocking your psychic potential. He shows you how to unite traditional tarot techniques and your own intuition, enhancing your readings with astounding levels of accuracy and insight. With 78 exercises, meditations, and rituals accessible for all practitioners, The Psychic Art of Tarot provides step-by-step instructions for understanding your unique psychic style and mastering an array of skills. Explore the arts of mediumship, soul alignment, auras, energy work, scrying, and more. So Matt Oren is the author of Psychic Witch, one of my favourite books on witchcraft, especially for beginners. So this one could be interesting for anyone who does want to begin their journey with tarot. On the 10th of September, we have Owl Magic, exploring the fascinating connections with these birds through folklore and magical traditions, as well as The Disciple's Guide to Ritual Magic, a beginner's introduction to the high art. Written with an occult context and aiming to train the novice magician, Disciple's Guide to Ritual Magic contains the knowledge and mysteries needed to become a great spellcaster. Disciple's Guide to Ritual Magic is a book written for the beginning magician who seeks the integral practice of a ritual magician. This book presents concepts and insights found in no other book on the subject. The author believes that all magicians seek enlightenment and gnosis, whether they know it or not. This means that the practice of magic must be expanded and broadened, so it is as much a full spiritual discipline and means to gaining gnosis as any other spiritual system. This book is an attempt at making magic a comprehensive discipline that affects all aspects of life. As well as Craft Your Own Magic and the Book of Forgotten Witches, Dark and Twisted Folklore Stories from Around the World. So there's a lot going on there on the 10th of September. On the 12th, we have The Witch Within, Discover the Type of Witch You Are. On the 17th of September, we have a really unusual book. And I will tell you my opinion on it, but let me know what you think about this. So this is The Witching Year, a memoir of earnest fumbling through modern witchcraft by Diana Helmuth. A skeptic spends a year trying to find spiritual fulfillment by practicing modern witchcraft in this fascinating memoir that's perfect for fans of A.J. Jacobs and Mary Roach. Diana Helmuth, 33, is skeptical of organised religions. She is also skeptical of disorganised religion, but more than anything, she is tired of God being dead. So she decides to try on the fastest growing self-directed faith in America. The result is 366 days of observation, trial, error, wit, and backspasms. Witches today are often presented as confident and finished, proud and powerful. Diana is eager to join them. She wants to follow all the rules, memorize all the incantations, read all the liturgy, but there's one glaring problem. No witch can agree on what the right rules, liturgy, and incantations are. As with life, Diana must define the craft for herself, looking past the fashionable and figuring out how to define the real. Along the way, she travels to Salem and Edinburgh, two very crafty hubs, and attends a week-long, clothing-optional, witch camp in Northern California. Whether she's trying to perform a full moon ritual on a cardboard box, summon an ancient demon with scotch tape and a kitchen trivet, or just trying to become a calmer, happier person, her biggest question remains, will any of this really work? So that's that book. Let me know what you think about that down in the comment section. Give me your honest opinions on it, and I'm going to give you mine. And I will be honest, this leaves a very sour taste in my mouth. This very strongly reminds me of all of those videos that were made in 2020 and 2021, or the blog posts that were made by people who tried witchcraft for a month, a week, sometimes even just a day. And then they made sweeping statements about the community as a whole. They made sweeping statements about the validity of the practice. And then they dismissed it all once they got the views on their video or their views on their blog post. And it leaves that same kind of sour taste. Now, that's not to say that that is what this book is going to be. And I will come at it from an open mind. But to me, the idea that we are going to test something for the sole purpose of seeing if it works, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. It leaves me wondering whether a book on the subject would be made if it was about a belief system that was perhaps a little bit more mainstream. And then the idea that we are somehow all just fumbling around in the dark because no one can agree on anything, it just isn't accurate. It's reducing the entirety of witchcraft down to being one thing that apparently no one can agree on, when in reality what's actually happening is there are thousands of different traditions. Witchcraft is an umbrella term that covers so many styles of practice, and depending on the different coven, group, tradition that you're following, you're going to have different books that you recommend, you're going to have different rules, you're going to have different incantations. It's not a one-stop shop for every single practitioner. Everyone is going to be so diverse and so unique. And so I will probably give it a read. I will probably let you know what I think of it. I would love to know if anyone else is going to read this and share their thoughts on it, because I don't know. I really hope that the author is going to come at this from a very open and understanding mindset. And there's no guarantee that this is going to be a bad book. This could be absolutely phenomenal, and I will come at it from an open mind. But those are just my gut instincts going into it. Is this very much reminds me of that kind of a situation that we've already experienced. I've made videos on it in the past. And so we'll see how this one goes. I'm really hopeful though, because I would love to see someone's perspective that genuinely came at it from an open mind. I think that would be really refreshing to see, and I really hope that this is it. On the 17th of September, we have the book whose name I know I'm going to butcher, so I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm really sorry. It is A Witch's Garden. We also have Witchicon, Witchcraft and Artifact. We have Disabled Witchcraft, 90 Rituals for Limited Spoon Practitioners. And finally, on the 27th of September, we have The Witch's Almanac 2025 to 2026, which it's very early. I keep forgetting that we're already in September. That is coming out as the last book for September. Whew, so that was a lot. I did tell you that you needed to prepare yourself. I hope that you at least had a drink during all of that. That was a long one. But thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. I would love to know what your favorite books are out of this. Which ones are you most excited for? I'll be honest, my favorite one is the one that I've already mentioned, to be honest, and that is the last of the UK releases, if I can find it here, Children of Cain, A Study of Modern Traditional Witches by Professor Michael Howard. That one is my personal favorite. I'm most looking forward to that, but I would love to know what you are all looking forward to the most, and are there any books that I missed out? I would absolutely love to know. If you've reached the end of this video, feel free to put some book emojis in the comment section, and I'm going to try to heart as many of them as I can, because you are dedicated if you get to the end of this video. This is a very, very long one. If you did enjoy it, feel free to give it a like. It means a lot to me. If you do have any questions or comments, feel free to post them in the comment section, or just chat about some of the topics that we've discussed today. Any other books that you would recommend on some of these topics, that would be amazing to know about. If you do enjoy the magical content on this channel or in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. I try to post magical content every single week. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you have a marvelous magical day. I hope you have an amazing September, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye!